I adore how transparently childish the leftist response to Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones Comedy Central Netflix special has been. It's gone from, oh, how outrageous, how dare he criticize those people, to, oh, shock and bore, how Dave Chappelle lost his comic touch. We are actually so not bothered about this, even though yesterday we were triggered as fuck. It all goes back to Lenny Bruce and Richard Pryor, or at least the reputation they left behind as a legacy. The two continue to inspire up-and-coming comedians due to their lionized status as embattled truth-tellers, men whose jokes are so searingly incisive about human hypocrisy that the culture's tongue-cluckers couldn't handle the truth. Woo, this is an interesting opening, isn't it? Where are you going, The Guardian? Bruce in particular stands today as something between a rock star and a martyr, the angry young subversive with the Type 15 so powerful that the squares had to put him in handcuffs and drag him off the stage. At the time, rabble-rousers like Bruce and Pryor knew what they were doing something right when people got angry at them. They prided themselves on it, in the knowledge that shaking the foundations of the old guard, their religion, their etiquette, their sexual hang-ups, made their voices more vital and exciting. As if this doesn't apply to today. As if we do not have a new secular left-wing religion that is absolutely shocked and appalled that one could tell jokes about gays, transgenders, etc., etc., etc. As if they're not constantly talking about their sexual hang-ups. As if their lives don't revolve around this. And as if yesterday, or the day before that, or the day before that, they weren't going on about cancelling Dave Chappelle. That was all over Twitter. And now it's like, well, actually, we're not impressed. We're bored just because everyone loved his set and we didn't. It's not that we were offended. It's that he's actually shit now and he's punching down even though we're trying to get him cancelled and we couldn't. It ends with this. The predictability has been the most dispiriting part. We're locked into a routine, both the performer and the critical core professionally obligated to take his bait. So you admit that you all took his bait. His transgressions every bit preordained as our objections to them. Oh, you're so meta. If you know that you are like this, why don't you just stop being like this? I'll tell you why. It's because you have replaced the religious right in being the moralizers. So that's why you're also angry that he is flouting your moral imperatives and commandments. He is doing precisely what Pryor and Bruce did a few generations ago. Even for someone uninterested in pondering the particulars of who he's making angry and why, which is the left and because you are the moral busybodies, Chappelle's got to recognise another major difference between his predecessors and himself in their reception. Those familiar with his recent output click into the newest knowing full well what they're in for, leading to the same restricting self-selection of opinion that one might otherwise find on Fox News. That's right, Dave Chappelle is basically a Fox News contributor. He only is watched by people who watch Fox News. He's not a wildly popular comedian or anything. He only got $60 million for these Netflix specials. I mean, it's not like they have any kind of investment in that. Forefathers like Bruce and Pryor reveled in infiltrating the mainstream with beliefs so progressive about sex, race and culture as to be dangerous. Chappelle would rather retreat into his niche as an old crank where all is expected and safe. Says the old cranks. The problem is that progressivism has gone too far. It refuses to recognise the limits of sanity, and it is now pushing the most bizarre and baffling limits of far-left ideology. Men or women, didn't you know that? That's why men and women can actually have physical fights where the men break the skulls of women in, say, MMA, or dominate all other women's sports. There's nothing weird about this. This is progressive. You're a bigot. He is doing this because you need to be reined in. And when you call that, oh, actually, we didn't care. We weren't triggered. Actually, we were bored. You have to understand, what on earth is going on with Dave Chappelle? I'm not outraged or shocked or triggered. I'm bored. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is a defense mechanism because you know he came for you and you've got nothing that you can say. All of his jokes landed. His entire set was an hour-long anti-SJW roasting of your entire philosophy, and it was amazing and everyone loved it. except for the 8% of radical progressive activists who would applaud wildly if we told our 5-year-olds that they were transgender. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of Chappelle's jokes. I'm so tired of the cycle of outrage and counter-outrage that inevitably follows them. I'm so tired of having to explain why some people might think it's wrong to joke about child rape accusations, even in a comedy show. All right, moralizer. At least the religious right had the decency to admit they actually believed this stuff and they were actually pissed off. After the triggering, now you're like, oh, actually, we were never triggered. This didn't bother us. You're just boring. We're not bothered. Oh, this is also meta. Look at the outrage, upon outrage, upon outrage. It's like, yeah, well, we've been saying that for quite some time. How about you stop getting outraged and stop trying to cancel people? How about you do that? How about you don't make it necessary for someone like Dave Chappelle to come along, someone with an impeccable comedic credential and a dedicated fan base that's been waiting for, like, this is like the return of the king, you know what I mean? And waiting for someone to stand up and go, you know what? Fuck you. Here's a bunch of jokes I know you hate because you hate them. Get fucked. Chappelle's brand of humour is meant to be, quote, controversial. His approach, it seems, is to say out loud what everyone else is supposedly thinking, which in turn gets some good laughs. That proves everyone was thinking it. It's a tricky type of humour to critique, because if you don't like it, then you're a snowflake, you're being too sensitive. Yes, you are the religious moralizers. And the thing is, it's actually not tricky to critique. It's easy to critique within its own logic. If it's not funny, then it's not good. If you're offended by the topics that he's joking about, then you are a snowflake. Get over it. Maybe you should let go of your political agenda long enough to enjoy a 1-hour comedy show, don't you think, love? Well, that's a good point. Which is probably why so many people have made it to you. But the truth is, Sticks and Stones isn't controversial. Oh, really? Then why are there literally hundreds of news articles talking about it? As if this is newsworthy? A comedy set should not be newsworthy. It's entertainment. There shouldn't have been a single news article written about the comedy set. It should have just been reviews. Here's a review of his show. Was it funny? Well, I thought so. I didn't think so. These are the reasons. Blah, blah, blah. But that's not what we're talking about. Now we're talking about the meta-political discussion about the cultural impact of it and how it's right that we are allowed to mock our superiors, even though you think that everyone's punching down. But it's not thought-provoking. It's lazy and unimaginative. I'm not outraged or shocked or triggered. I'm bored. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's just, he has cut right through your armour of offence, and now you've got to be like, well, actually, I was never offended, actually. It's literally the meme of the happy mask over the crying face. That's what this is. Oh, all of this is low-hanging fruit jokes about how bisexual people are gross and greedy and want to fuck everyone, blah, blah, blah. This all begs the question, is this really the third best we can do because he's the third highest paid comedian? It's not a we, it's him. And you don't like it because it is directly opposing your political hegemony. He is punching up at the Twitterati, and you know it. So actually, you've got to be like, oh, I mean, I'm too cool to be bothered by this, honestly. I swear to God. Some will claim that anything is acceptable as long as it's said on a comedy stage, but there's no denying as a famous, beloved comedian, Chappelle has a huge platform, and Sticks and Stones isn't using it in the best possible way. Stop you there. Your opinion on this isn't really very interesting, because you are the political opponent of the politically charged comedy set that he's been producing. I'm not surprised you don't think it's in the best possible way. But in my opinion, as someone who's on the same political agenda as Chappelle in this regard, I think it was the best possible way. I guess we just have a difference of opinion. It's painfully ironic that in another Sticks and Stones bit, Chappelle lectures feminists, claiming they're not going about their fight for equality in the right way and that we're worse off now than when MeToo started. Well, gee, I wonder why. I can tell you why. It's because you're insufferable harridans, and you actually think that men are oppressing women as a class. You think that false allegations are justified because some people have had bad things done to them. So any innocent men who get caught up in it, well, it's a sacrifice you're willing to make, even though you are completely insulated from any of these allegations because you're a woman. But I mean, you know, all the worst white people love Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones. And we get to the problem, don't we? This is the kind of thing that we're talking about. While trolling has earned its negative connotation, it can be weaponized for good. As Bomani Jones proves on Twitter pretty much every day. I don't know who that is, but as you can see from what Dave Chappelle has done, yes, trolling can be weaponized for good against you. You control racists and low-information bigots, exposing them the batty and dangerous thought processes that define them. Yes, like progressives. The racist progressives and low-information bigots that they are, you can expose the batty and dangerous thought processes that define them. What a salient statement that you have accidentally made. But Sticks and Stones is mostly an hour of Chappelle trolling trans people, rape victims, gay people, and other hyper-vulnerable communities while defending famous millionaires. Well, you know what? People can treat famous millionaires unfairly. That is a possible thing and has happened. And when you see something unfair happening, it is incumbent on you to call it out. And he wasn't really trolling just trans people. He was trolling remarkably powerful progressive activists that act in a very uniform and regimented way to hurt people and destroy the careers of these famous millionaires you hate so much. People who, incidentally, earned their money by being successful and popular. But you'll see the continual narrative. I got up and did things around the house while it was still on, not because of some deep offence. I mean, you know, I only sat there complaining about him trolling trans people because I would be offended by that. But no, I didn't get it because of some deep offence, but because I was just bored with it. Oh yeah, the progressives are bored people. Okay, continue to be bored. Go away and be bored somewhere else. Stop getting in everyone's face by being offended or pretending to be offended, and try and cancel them just because you can, because you can form this adequate Twitter mob that browbeats and bullies people into cancelling things you don't like.